As far as the pre-production for this type of piece, I understand, getting in touch with the artist and everything, but was the project, did the project become much bigger than what you anticipated? Was it exactly what you thought? Was it much smaller? And you can elaborate from there, actually, but definitely keep looking at him.
Okay. So initially, my idea, 7 years ago when I started thinking about the project, was to have a house and have artists that came and stayed in the house, and it would be photographers for 1 month, and each photographer would create a photograph that lived in that room, and then musicians would move in, and the musicians would create a song that was, came from that. And the reason I really didn't want to do that is because I don't think I could live with 140 artists. I think that it would be really, really difficult. So I felt like, it was inaccessible and improbable that I could do this project. But then suddenly the internet really made it a possibility and made the idea of contacting these people and making the project a reality internationally. And so that felt really, really exciting. And I started out with 22 photographs thinking, okay, well, some people won't participate. And I sort of thought to myself, some people won't participate, and some people won't, finish the project, and some of these chains just will peter out. But then what happened is that anybody who put their energy into creating their art, I then owed them to finish it. And so I couldn't just stop. I couldn't just stop if I thought, oh, this is not really working with this chain. Or I couldn't just stop if I was thinking, this dancer's just taken a year to finish this thing, and I just forget it. I couldn't throw anything out. I couldn't throw any of the chains out. So yeah, it became a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. And that's sort of what's made it so exciting, is that it's something that's so much bigger than me that I really don't have control over it. It's like this animal that I get to ride on top of, with holding the reins really loosely on most days when I'm, not feeling like I need to control the world. And that I just get to sort of participate in the choices about, like which direction it's going to go down today, and not sort of what the 5-year plan is for it. It's just been really exciting in that regard. I did want to mention that, I took 8 of the chains and I gave each of those 8 to a set designer, and the set designer then interpreted the chains as a whole, interpreted each chain as a whole, and created a set, which is what's behind us here. So their interpretation was of the chain as a whole, and they created this 3-dimensional space in which the art will live and be exhibited this summer. And then the other 14 chains are going to be also exhibited, but as these on these tablets. But all of them are about the visitor becoming the last link in the chain of perception by exploring the art for themselves, understanding it, creating a story within themselves, and then creating it in these sort of stations that we have with paints and brushes and pens and pencils and ways of expressing themselves that they can also post to each of the chains on these boards. So that's really exciting too. It's just the interactive nature of the project.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did it, you might have already answered this earlier when I wasn't here, but did every chain start with a photograph?
Yeah, so I started every chain with a photograph, and it was because I collected the photographs as my elephant. So each of them is a different part of my elephant's body. Each photograph is a part of a greater elephant's body. And what's interesting about that is that I don't actually know what the elephant is. The elephant is one thing to me, but just because I selected it doesn't mean that I know what it is, you know? I mean, it could be different for everybody that feels it, and that's what this, you know, the whole project was it started with the, you know, this grouping of 22 photographs, but really, it's grown into what we see below us, and everybody's interpretation of that is going to be different, and it's going to have a different commentary on what the nature of the original was. So, I don't know, I find that really interesting. But yes, everything started with a photograph.
Sally, could you talk about your supporters as far as maybe reaching out to them, whether you want to give a shout out to them in this video or not, as far as
Absolutely.
however you want to take that.
So we get to be here at UMass Boston, which is an incredible opportunity to set up what is a very large installation, and they've been generous enough to let us inhabit this space, which is incredibly generous of them. And we have just an incredible support group. Our board of advisors is amazing. Of course, 140 artists, globally recognized artists. And then, we have incredible supporters in Consenses is one of our major benefactors, and Agnes Gund is one of our supporters, which is thrilling. And, we have amazing sponsors and representation on Martha's Vineyard, including sort of Espresso Love and some Cape Air is one of our supporters. So we have an incredible grouping and sort of base of support for the project, which is encouraging, and people who are attracted to this project are really attracted to it, which is all you could really ever ask for, all I ever could ask for.
Actually, back to UMass Boston, what made you select this particular campus? So
this campus, we get to work on this campus mostly because Megan Keenan, who's down there painting, and Anthony Phelps are both set designers here, are scenic designers on this campus, and so they were granted permission to let us let Consensus set up here, and she has created one of the sets, and Anthony Phelps has created the other, so they're both professors on campus.
Sally, could we, Colleen, do you mind just asking that question again, just because of the door situation? Just want to make sure that we get it with the clarity.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Colleen, if you can.
And Sally, back to UMass Boston, what did make you select this campus in particular?
Great.
Let's hold. We're gonna cut cam.